The story of Skyrim begins long before players set foot on that iconic cart ride to Helgen. Released on November 11th, 2011, Skyrim was developed by Bethesda Game Studios as the fifth main entry in the Elder Scrolls series. But its roots stretch back through decades of design choices, experiments, and even abandoned ideas from earlier games. When Skyrim arrived, it wasn't just another fantasy RPG, it was a cultural moment that defined gaming for a generation. Development began in earnest after the release of The Elder Scrolls IV: Oblivion in 2006. Bethesda had experimented with Radiant AI in Oblivion, allowing NPCs to schedule their lives, but Skyrim would push this even further with the Radiant Story system. This innovation meant quests could be generated based on the player's progress, location, or even past actions, ensuring that the world always felt alive. While many players assume Radiant quests are simply repetitive tasks, the truth is that the system was revolutionary at the time, embedding randomness and reactivity into nearly every corner of the map. The setting itself was chosen carefully. Fans of the Elder Scrolls already knew about Skyrim from books and lore scattered across earlier games. The land of the Nords was often described as harsh, cold, and unforgiving, a place of warriors, mead halls, and ancient traditions. Bethesda chose Skyrim because they wanted to create a world defined by drama and scale, where snowy peaks could loom over players in a way that contrasted with Oblivion's more pastoral landscapes. Skyrim's geography, with its 9 holds, vast mountains, and hidden dungeons, was built to feel like an ancient land filled with secrets. Dragons became the central theme, and this was not just a matter of spectacle. Todd Howard, the game's director, explained that dragons had always been mentioned in Elder Scrolls lore, but never seen in the flesh. To make them real, Bethesda designed a new animation system that allowed dragons to perch dynamically on mountains, houses, and even the ground during combat. Each dragon fight was built to feel unscripted, with dragons able to swoop down on towns at random. This wasn't just a gimmick, it was an attempt to make the world feel dangerous and unpredictable, even when the main quest wasn't being followed. The Thu'um, or the Dragon Shouts, became another innovation tied to lore. Bethesda wanted a new form of magic distinct from the traditional spell system. By rooting shouts in the ancient language of the dragons, they created a mechanic that felt both powerful and narratively justified. Each shout was written as a word of power, and players had to discover them carved into word walls scattered across Skyrim. These walls weren't just game mechanics, they were pieces of history, inscriptions left by ancient Nords. This blending of lore and gameplay is part of what made Skyrim's design so seamless. Voice acting in Skyrim was one of the largest undertakings of its time. The game contains more than 60,000 lines of recorded dialogue, voiced by over 70 actors. While some fans criticized the limited pool of voices, making it easy to notice repetition, the sheer scale was enormous for 2011. Bethesda even brought in Max von Sydow, a legendary actor, to voice Esbern, the wise old Blades member who guides the Dragonborn. His performance added gravitas to the main quest, grounding the epic dragon battles in a sense of ancient prophecy. One obscure detail about Skyrim's development is that its map size wasn't actually larger than Oblivion's in raw measurements. Instead, Bethesda used verticality to create the illusion of scale. By filling Skyrim with towering mountains, deep valleys, and sprawling underground dungeons like Blackreach, they created a world that felt infinitely larger. This trick of design is why many players recall Skyrim as being massive, even though on paper its landmass is similar to Oblivion's. The vertical design encouraged exploration, making every peak and cave feel like an adventure. The music of Skyrim also deserves recognition. Composed by Jeremy Soule, the soundtrack became one of the most iconic in gaming history. The main theme, Dragonborn, was performed by a choir of 30 voices singing in the game's invented dragon language. Soule layered their voices 3 times to create the sound of 90 singers, giving the chant its thunderous quality. Obscurely, the lyrics themselves are a prophecy about the Dragonborn defeating Alduin, the World Eater, meaning that every player hears their destiny sung to them as they start their adventure. This blending of music and narrative immersion is one of Skyrim's most overlooked achievements. Even before release, Skyrim was shaping gaming culture. The announcement trailer at the Spike Video Game Awards in 2010 featured the booming line, "Skyrim is coming, 11/11/11," a marketing move that turned a simple number into a cultural memory. Players camped outside stores, eager to begin their adventures, and within the first 2 days, Skyrim sold over 3.5 million copies. By the end of its first week, it had reached 7 million, a staggering number for the time. The launch wasn't without flaws. The PlayStation 3 version suffered notorious lag issues, with save files ballooning in size the longer players explored. Mods were initially limited to PC, leaving console players feeling left out. Yet despite these technical problems, Skyrim's reputation only grew. The modding community, in particular, began to expand the game almost immediately, fixing bugs, overhauling graphics, and adding new quests. This modding culture is part of why Skyrim has endured for more than a decade, but its roots lie in the passion that players felt even at launch. Skyrim's early development also carried echoes of ideas that never made it into the final product. Interviews with developers revealed that mounted combat and spellcrafting were initially considered, but both were cut due to time and balance issues. Mounted combat eventually arrived in later updates, while spellcrafting remained absent to the disappointment of fans who loved it in Morrowind and Oblivion. These cut features remind us that Skyrim, as massive as it is, was once envisioned as an even grander game. Perhaps the most obscure fact of all about Skyrim's launch is how much of it was designed to create shared memories. From the opening cart ride, a moment so universally recognized that it became a meme, to the first dragon encounter in Whiterun, Bethesda built Skyrim as a cultural landmark. Its success was not just in its mechanics or lore, but in how it invited players to talk about their adventures, compare choices, and share discoveries. Skyrim became more than a game. It became a collective dream of dragons, mountains, and endless exploration. Skyrim is not just a map for quests. It is a culture, a history, and a homeland steeped in traditions that stretch back thousands of years. The Nords, the dominant race of the region, shape everything about the land, from its architecture to its politics, from its food to its religion. To understand Skyrim is to understand the Nords, a people defined by resilience, honor, and the constant struggle against both nature and invaders. The Nords trace their ancestry to Atmora, a frozen continent north of Tamriel that is now inhospitable. Long ago, waves of Atmoran settlers crossed the Sea of Ghosts and colonized Skyrim, clashing with the native Falmer, who would later devolve into the twisted creatures known as the Snow Elves. These early Nord settlers built their civilization on war and conquest, driving the snow elves underground and establishing themselves as Tamriel's fiercest warriors. The echoes of this history remain in Skyrim's barrows, where Draugr undead guardians still protect the tombs of ancient Nord kings. Religion plays a central role in Nord culture. The Nords honor the divines, but their view of the gods is distinct from the imperial interpretation. Kine, the goddess of the storm, is revered as the widow of Shor, a warrior god tied to death and the afterlife. Talos, the human who ascended to godhood, holds particular importance. Many Nords resist the White Gold Concordat, the treaty imposed by the Aldmeri Dominion that outlawed Talos worship. This conflict forms one of Skyrim's central tensions, as the civil war between the Imperial Legion and Ulfric Stormcloak is as much about faith as it is about politics. Nord architecture reflects their values. Longhouses built of wood and stone, decorated with carvings of animals and warriors, designed to withstand both snowstorms and attacks. Mead halls serve as social centers, where Nords gather to drink, sing, and tell stories of past battles. Mead itself is more than a drink. It is a cultural symbol, often brewed locally and shared as a gesture of friendship. Inns across Skyrim echo this tradition, providing warmth, music, and conversation in a world otherwise defined by harsh wilderness. Music and oral tradition are essential to the Nord's identity. Bards preserve history through song, recounting tales of Ysgramor, the legendary warrior who led the 500 companions to conquer Skyrim. These songs are more than entertainment. They are records of myth and history, ensuring that Nord culture endures even when written records are lost. The Bard's College in Solitude continues this legacy, training new generations of storytellers who carry Skyrim's past into its uncertain future. The Nords' relationship with magic is complicated. While some Nords wield magic with skill, such as the members of the College of Winterhold, many distrust it. Magic is seen as dangerous, untrustworthy, and even cowardly compared to the straightforward strength of steel. This tension is reflected in Skyrim's history. The collapse of Winterhold, a city once rivaling Solitude in grandeur, is often blamed on reckless mages and their experiments. The great chasm that swallowed much of the city remains a scar on both the land and Nord memory. Despite their mistrust of magic, Nords embrace shouts, the Thu'um, as a sacred power tied to their heritage. The Greybeards, monks who live in High Hrothgar, atop the throat of the world, dedicate their lives to mastering the voice. They follow the teachings of Jurgen Windcaller, who believed the Thu'um should be used for worship and not for war. This philosophy stands in contrast to Skyrim's ancient past, when entire battles were fought with shouts that shook the earth. The player's role as Dragonborn reignites this ancient power, linking them to a cultural memory that most Nords only know through legend. Nord politics are fractured, reflecting their independent spirit. Skyrim is divided into 9 holds, each ruled by a Jarl. These Jarls answer nominally to the High King, but in practice they act with considerable autonomy. The civil war between the Stormcloaks and the Imperials reveals the weaknesses of this system, as loyalties shift based on personal ambition, cultural pride, or religious conviction. Solitude, under Jarl Elisif, supports the Empire, while Windhelm, under Ulfric, fights for Nord independence. Smaller holds choose sides reluctantly, often torn between tradition and survival. The land itself mirrors the Nord character. Skyrim's geography is unforgiving. Snowy tundras in the north, jagged mountains slicing through the center, swamps in Hjalmarch, and volcanic tundras in the east near the rift. Each region has its own culture and resources. Whiterun, at the crossroads of the province, thrives as a hub of trade and politics. Solitude, perched on a cliff, is a symbol of imperial order and maritime power. Riften, with its canals and corruption, is the heart of the Thieves' Guild. Each city reflects the values and struggles of its people. Even food and drink carry meaning. Nords survive on stews, salted meats, and simple breads, with mead as their constant companion. Yet small details show cultural pride. Dishes like Horker stew, snowberry crostata, and mammoth cheese reflect the land's bounty. These foods, though often overlooked by players, are part of Skyrim's immersive detail. They remind us that even in a world of dragons and magic, daily life is built on survival, tradition, and community. At the core of Nord identity lies a tension between honor and survival. They value strength, loyalty, and courage, yet their history is full of betrayals, invasions, and internal wars. Their worship of Talos symbolizes defiance against outside control, but it also reflects their stubborn pride. Skyrim's civil war, its distrust of outsiders, and its reverence for ancient traditions all stem from this cultural heart. The land of the Nords is not just a backdrop for the Dragonborn's journey, it is a living character, as complex and conflicted as the people who inhabit it. Dragons are the beating heart of Skyrim's narrative, and their presence transforms the game from a fantasy adventure into a mythic saga. Unlike earlier Elder Scrolls titles, where dragons were only mentioned in lore, Skyrim places them at the center of both story and gameplay. Alduin, the World Eater, is not just a villain, he is a godlike force, tied to the very cycles of creation and destruction. His return is both prophecy and apocalypse, a story centuries in the making. The lore of dragons in Skyrim is rooted in the belief that they are immortal, incapable of true death unless slain by a dragonborn. When Alduin returns, he begins resurrecting long-buried dragons from ancient burial mounds scattered across the land. Each mound, guarded by Draugr, serves as a tomb and a prison, and their awakening unleashes chaos across the province. These random dragon attacks create unpredictability, ensuring that no town or player is ever truly safe. The Thu'um, or dragon shouts, are powers tied to the dragon language. Each shout consists of up to 3 words, with each word adding strength. For example, Fus Roda, the unrelenting force shout, grows stronger with each word learned. The shouts themselves are carved into word walls, ancient monuments scattered across Skyrim's mountains, caves, and ruins. These walls not only teach gameplay mechanics, but also preserve history, telling stories of battles, rulers, and forgotten wars. By learning shouts, the Dragonborn isn't just gaining power, they are literally reclaiming the lost heritage of the Nords. One of the most obscure aspects of the dragon language is that it was fully constructed by Bethesda, complete with grammar, syntax, and a written alphabet. Fans have since translated entire texts from in-game walls, revealing poetry, prophecies, and fragments of lore. This level of detail makes the dragon language more than a gimmick. It is a cultural artifact, as rich as Tolkien's Elvish or Klingon from Star Trek. Few players realize just how much effort went into building this fictional tongue. Paarthurnax, the dragon who guides the player, embodies the complexity of dragon lore. Once Alduin's lieutenant, he betrayed him and taught mortals the Thu'um to resist their oppressors. Yet Paarthurnax admits he still struggles with the nature of dragons, which is domination. His philosophical conflict: can a being born to dominate truly choose peace? adds depth to Skyrim's story. The Blades, remnants of an ancient order, demand that the Dragonborn kill Paarthurnax, creating one of the game's most morally complex choices. To spare him is to believe in redemption. To kill him is to obey an order bound by fear and tradition. Dragon fights themselves are built to feel dynamic. Dragons land unpredictably, attack with elemental shouts like fire or frost, and interact with the environment by perching on walls or rooftops. They can even fight other creatures, swooping down on giants or clashing with mammoths. This unpredictability ensures that no two dragon battles feel the same. Players may encounter a dragon attacking Whiterun's watchtower or swooping down on a peaceful village, turning everyday exploration into sudden chaos. Dragons also carry their own lore through names. Each named dragon has meaning in the dragon language. For example, Odaviing, the dragon who aids the Dragonborn, translates roughly to winged snow hunter. These names tie directly into their identities, creating a linguistic depth that most players overlook. Even Alduin's name carries weight, Destroyer Devour Master, marking him as more than just another dragon, but as the embodiment of apocalypse itself. No Elder Scrolls game is complete without factions, and Skyrim's guilds are some of its most memorable. Each offers its own storyline, filled with obscure lore and hidden secrets that reveal different sides of the province. From assassins in the shadows to scholars of magic, Skyrim's factions provide more than just quests. They are windows into the diversity and contradictions of the world. The Dark Brotherhood, Skyrim's infamous assassin guild, is one of the game's darkest storylines. Hidden in Falkreath, the Brotherhood recruits the Dragonborn through a chilling quest. After completing the Innocence Lost quest, players are contacted by a child named Aventus Aretino, who performs the Black Sacrament to summon an assassin. The Brotherhood's sanctuary is filled with unsettling details, from shadowy chambers to strange relics. Their leader, Astrid, betrays tradition by breaking with the Night Mother, leading to a storyline of betrayal and rebirth. Few players realize that the Brotherhood's rise and fall in Skyrim mirrors its destruction in Oblivion, making the Skyrim chapter part of a much larger narrative. The Thieves Guild in Riften offers another obscure storyline. At first, the guild seems like a broken organization, harassed by local rivals and losing influence. But through the Dragonborn's actions, it can be restored to glory. The guild's ties to Nocturnal, the Daedric Prince of Shadows, add layers of mystery. The Skeleton Key, a Daedric artifact tied to luck and fate, plays a central role in the questline. Many players complete the quests without realizing that keeping the Skeleton Key indefinitely allows them to unlock any chest, a hidden option that requires sacrificing completion for practicality. The College of Winterhold offers insight into magic and its dangers. Built on a cliff overlooking the Sea of Ghosts, the college is a hub for mages. Yet the town of Winterhold despises it, blaming the college for the great collapse that destroyed much of the city. The questline reveals the Eye of Magnus, an ancient artifact of immense power. Few players notice that the college's storyline mirrors themes of hubris and distrust of magic that run deep in Nord culture. The questline's ambiguity, whether the Eye was truly dangerous or merely misunderstood, leaves players with unanswered questions about the role of magic in Skyrim's world. The Companions, based in Whiterun's Jorvisker, offer a warrior's path. Modeled after the 500 Companions of Ysgramor, the group honors tradition and strength. Yet their secret is lycanthropy. The leadership of the Companions are werewolves, bound by a pact with the Daedric prince Hircine. Joining them means embracing this curse, with quests exploring the tension between honor and savagery. This obscure detail ties Skyrim's warriors not only to their human ancestors, but to the primal forces of the Daedra, blurring the line between civilization and wilderness. Each guild questline reflects Skyrim's themes of tradition, corruption, and rebirth. The Dark Brotherhood rises from betrayal, the Thieves' Guild from decline, the College of Winterhold from suspicion, and the Companions from hidden curses. Together, they reveal a province defined by cycles of ruin and renewal, mirroring the larger story of dragons, prophecy, and civil war. The Daedric princes are among Skyrim's most fascinating and obscure figures. While not gods in the traditional sense, they wield immense power as rulers of the Plains of Oblivion. Each prince embodies a concept or domain, and their quests in Skyrim reveal sides of the world that are bizarre, terrifying, or darkly humorous. For many players, Daedric quests are highlights of the game, strange journeys that pull them out of the familiar and into the surreal. One of the most famous is Sheogorath, the Prince of Madness. His quest, the Mind of Madness, takes the player inside the mind of Pelagius III, a mad emperor. There, the player encounters bizarre challenges, including fighting nightmares and curing paranoia. Sheogorath himself is voiced with eccentric charm, making his presence both unsettling and entertaining. The quest is a reminder that the Daedric princes are not bound by mortal logic. They embody extremes that defy comprehension. Another memorable quest involves Mehrunes Dagon, the Prince of Destruction. In Pieces of the Past, the player reassembles the Mehrunes' razor, a legendary dagger capable of instantly killing enemies. The shrine to Dagon becomes the site of betrayal and battle, reflecting the prince's chaotic nature. Many players miss the obscure detail that the razor has appeared in multiple Elder Scrolls games, tying Skyrim to a legacy of Daedric artifacts stretching back to earlier titles. Other princes reveal subtler horrors. Molag Bal, the Prince of Domination, forces the player to torture a priest, showcasing his cruelty. Namira, the Lady of Decay, introduces players to a cult of cannibals, offering rewards for embracing the grotesque. These quests are not just about loot, they are moral tests, asking players to engage with acts of horror for power. Yet not all Daedric quests are dark. Azura, the Prince of Dawn and Dusk, offers the player Azura's Star, a soul gem with infinite uses. Her quest reflects loyalty and guidance, standing in contrast to the cruelty of others. Meridia, the Prince of Life and Energy, despises the undead, and her quest, the Break of Dawn, sends the player to cleanse her temple. Her booming voice and dramatic appearance in the sky are among the most memorable scenes in the game. What makes the Daedric princes obscure is not just their quests, but the lore they carry. Each prince represents a philosophical question. What does it mean to embrace chaos, domination, madness, or decay? By interacting with them, the player glimpses worlds beyond Tamriel, each one reflecting extremes of existence. For many players, these quests leave lasting impressions, reminding them that Skyrim is more than just Nords and dragons. It is a crossroads of realms and powers that defy human understanding. Factions are the veins of Skyrim's story, carrying life into every corner of the province. To join one is to step into a different way of living, a different philosophy about what survival means in a land of dragons and civil war. While many players remember Skyrim for its open mountains and wandering freedom, the guilds anchor the game, offering structured tales of loyalty, betrayal, ambition, and the pursuit of power. The four major factions, the Companions, the College of Winterhold, the Thieves' Guild, and the Dark Brotherhood, are far more than quest lines. They are reflections of Skyrim itself, each colored by obscure details and hidden lore that make them much deeper than they first appear. The Companions, who live in Whiterun's Mead Hall Jorvaskr, trace their origins back to Ysgramor and the 500 companions who first conquered Skyrim from the elves. Their hall, carved into the side of a hill and built atop a vast underground burial chamber, is one of the oldest structures in Skyrim, a living reminder of Nord tradition. At first, the Companions seem like simple mercenaries, proud warriors for hire who honor combat above all else. But their secret, revealed as you rise through their ranks, is that their leaders are werewolves, bound to Herson, the Daedric Prince of the Hunt. Lycanthropy is presented as both a blessing and a curse, a source of power that ties them to savagery. This duality makes the Companions unique. They embody the Nord warrior ideal, yet their hearts wrestle with the tension between humanity and beast. Few players realize that if you cure yourself of lycanthropy, you can also cure your fellow companions, altering the future of their entire order. In stark contrast stand the College of Winterhold, perched precariously on a cliff above the Sea of Ghosts. The college appears majestic, but its existence is a point of tension with the people of Skyrim. The Great Collapse, a catastrophic event that destroyed much of Winterhold, left the city in ruins, and locals blame the college, seeing it as a hub of reckless magic. Inside its halls, however, lies a story of ambition, curiosity, and forgotten knowledge. The college's questline introduces the Eye of Magnus, a mysterious artifact whose origins predate even the ancient Nords. The quest doesn't fully explain the eye's nature, leaving its meaning deliberately vague. Some scholars speculate it is a relic of the Aedra, others that it is connected to Magnus, the god of magic, who withdrew from the mortal plane during creation. This ambiguity is one of Skyrim's most fascinating mysteries, and many players overlook how much the questline mirrors the wider theme of magic as both salvation and ruin. Riften, at the opposite end of Skyrim, houses the Thieves' Guild in the sewers beneath the city. At the beginning of the game, the guild is broken, reduced to petty extortionists and struggling for influence. Maven Blackbriar, the ruthless matriarch of Riften's ruling family, is the true power behind the guild, pulling its strings from the shadows. The guild's story is one of resurrection, as the Dragonborn can restore it to its former glory by reconnecting it to Nocturnal, the Daedric Prince of Shadows. The Skeleton Key, central to this story, is a Daedric artifact with the power to unlock anything, but it also represents fate and luck, concepts deeply tied to Nocturnal's influence. Many players turn the key in for quest completion, but few realize they can keep it indefinitely, using it as a permanent, unbreakable lockpick. This hidden choice reveals Bethesda's quiet encouragement of roleplay, the temptation to embrace luck and cheat fate, even at the cost of walking away from closure. Then there is the Dark Brotherhood, Skyrim's most infamous faction, a guild of assassins who honor the Night Mother and her listener. Joining the Brotherhood begins with one of Skyrim's most chilling quests. A boy named Aventus Aretino, living alone in Windhelm, performs the Black Sacrament to summon an assassin, begging for the Brotherhood's aid. When the Dragonborn investigates, they are drawn into a world of shadow and betrayal. Astrid, the Brotherhood's leader, has reshaped the guild away from the Night Mother's traditions, leading to an inevitable collapse. The questline is one of loss and rebirth. The Brotherhood is destroyed from within, yet rises anew under the Dragonborn's leadership. Obscure details make the story even richer. The Night Mother's coffin is lined with human flesh, a gruesome symbol of her power. Cicero's journal, scattered through the quest, provides eerie insight into his devotion. Players who choose to betray the Brotherhood instead can wipe it out entirely, one of Skyrim's most dramatic alternate paths. Each guild represents a philosophy of survival. The companions cling to honor, but secretly compromise it through their curse. The college embraces knowledge, but risks destruction by playing with forces beyond comprehension. The Thieves' Guild thrives on greed and shadow, revitalized only by divine intervention. The Dark Brotherhood serves death itself, bound to a cycle of betrayal and devotion. Together, they are mirrors of Skyrim's central themes: tradition, ambition, corruption, and fate. Many players complete them for the loot or titles, but for those who linger in their halls, read their journals, and notice the small details, the guilds reveal Skyrim's soul fractured, flawed, and endlessly compelling. Beyond the holds of Skyrim and the politics of its Nords lie powers far older and stranger than any human kingdom. The Daedric princes, rulers of the plains of oblivion, each embody an aspect of existence so extreme it becomes alien. They are not gods in the traditional sense, but to mortals, their influence is undeniable. In Skyrim, the Dragonborn can encounter 16 of these princes, each offering quests that blur the line between blessing and curse. For many, these are the most memorable and obscure stories in the game, pulling the player from the familiar into realms of madness, decay, and divine contradiction. Sheogorath, the Prince of Madness, offers perhaps the most iconic quest. In Solitude, players can enter the mind of Pelagius the Mad, wandering through bizarre dreamscapes filled with metaphors for paranoia, fear, and obsession. Sheogorath himself appears, wielding humor and menace in equal measure, guiding the player through puzzles that reflect Pelagius's fractured psyche. The quest is not only entertaining, but also philosophical. It reminds us that madness is not just chaos, but a way of seeing the world differently. Sheogorath's dialogue, delivered with gleeful energy, leaves a mark on every player who encounters him, making his quest one of Skyrim's most beloved. Meridia, the Lady of Life and Energy, represents the opposite extreme. Her quest begins with a booming voice that calls the Dragonborn as soon as her beacon is touched, commanding them to cleanse her temple of necromancers. The Break of Dawn quest is unforgettable for her divine presence, lifting the player high above the world in a sphere of radiant light. Many players remember this moment as one of the most dramatic in the game, a contrast to Skyrim's otherwise grounded tone. Meridia's hatred of the undead also provides a rare moral clarity in a game often defined by shades of gray. Mehrunes Dagon, the Prince of Destruction, embodies chaos and betrayal. His quest, Pieces of the Past, involves reassembling Mehrunes' razor, a dagger capable of instantly killing enemies. The Shrine to Dagon becomes the stage for treachery, with followers turning against each other in pursuit of the artifact. For longtime Elder Scrolls fans, this quest carries extra weight, as Dagon was the main antagonist of Oblivion, his invasion reshaping Tamriel. Skyrim's quest reminds players that though his schemes were defeated, his presence endures, ever hungry for destruction. Other princes reveal subtler horrors. Molag Bal, the Prince of Domination, commands the player to break a priest, reveling in cruelty. His mace, rewarded at the end, becomes a symbol of suffering. Namira, the Lady of Decay, lures the Dragonborn into a cult of cannibals, rewarding them for participating in a gruesome feast. Many players are shocked to discover this quest. hidden in Markarth, because it forces a moral confrontation unlike any other in the game. To participate is to embrace corruption, to resist is to defy a godlike being. Azura, by contrast, is a prince often seen as benevolent. Her quest leads to Azura's Star, a reusable soul gem of immense value. The quest itself reflects loyalty and fate, as the player must choose whether to honor Azura or corrupt her artifact for personal gain. The decision shapes the artifact's form and meaning, reminding players that Daedric quests often hide choices that linger far beyond the moment. What makes the Daedric princes obscure is not just the variety of their quests, but how they reflect deeper themes of power and morality. They remind us that Skyrim's world is not ruled only by Nords, Imperials, or dragons. It is shaped by beings beyond comprehension, whose interests intersect with mortals only when it serves them. Each prince's quest is a window into another philosophy of existence, whether it is Sheogorath's chaos, Meridia's purity, or Molag Bal's domination. To walk these paths is to glimpse not only power, but the extremes of what life can become when bound to forces beyond mortal control. In the end, the Daedric princes remind us of Skyrim's greatest strength, its ability to layer myth, morality, and mystery into a single journey. They are the shadows and lights at the edges of the world, pulling the Dragonborn into stories that are as strange as they are unforgettable. The wilderness of Skyrim feels alive, not just because of its landscapes, but because of the creatures that inhabit it. From the common wolves that stalk travelers on the roads to the legendary dragons that darken the skies, Skyrim's bestiary is one of its most defining features. But beneath the surface, many of these creatures carry obscure details, behavioral quirks, lore connections, and hidden encounters that most players never notice. Wolves and saber cats are among the most common predators in Skyrim, yet even these basic enemies are tied to the land's culture. Saber cats are revered in Nord hunting traditions, their pelts often displayed in longhouses as trophies of skill. The game even includes rare snowy saber cats, stronger variants that blend into the tundra, reflecting how Bethesda designed enemy difficulty to mirror environmental harshness. Wolves, meanwhile, appear in packs and have subtle AI behaviors. They howl to alert nearby allies, and their attacks scale depending on numbers. Though players often dismiss them as nuisances, they create an ecosystem where even low-level enemies feel alive. Bears embody another layer of danger. Their roars echo through the forests, and they can easily overwhelm low-level characters. But bears also tie into Skyrim's alchemy system. Their claws and pelts provide ingredients for potions, reinforcing the game's design philosophy that every creature has a role beyond combat. Obscurely, cave bears, a stronger variant, spawn only in specific mountainous regions, making them easy to miss unless players explore widely. Giants and mammoths are among Skyrim's most memorable inhabitants. Towering and slow-moving, giants are not hostile unless provoked, but attacking them leads to one of the game's most iconic sights, a giant swatting the player into the sky with a single strike. This was originally a bug caused by the physics engine applying exaggerated force, but Bethesda left it in after fans loved the spectacle. Mammoths, meanwhile, are usually docile unless their giant herders are attacked. They even have lore connections. Mammoth cheese, harvested from their herds, appears in Nord diets, showing how Skyrim's people depend on these massive creatures for sustenance. Few players notice that mammoths are tied to specific territories, creating natural zones of danger across the tundras. Falmer, the twisted descendants of the Snow Elves, represent one of Skyrim's darkest pieces of lore. Once a proud race, they were driven underground by the invading Nords and forced to consume toxic fungi by the Dwemer, which warped their bodies and minds. Now blind and savage, the Falmer inhabit the deepest caves and ruins, often alongside Chorus, giant insect-like creatures they raise as war beasts. The Falmer's existence is obscure in that many players never connect them to the snow elves described in Skyrim's books and legends. But for those who read carefully, the Falmer are a living reminder of conquest, betrayal, and the consequences of survival at any cost. Dwemer constructs add another layer of menace. These mechanical guardians, spheres, spiders, and centurions patrol the abandoned ruins of the Dwemer, the lost dwarven race that vanished mysteriously thousands of years ago. Their presence is both practical and symbolic. Practically, they provide challenging enemies for players exploring ruins. Symbolically, they remind players of the Dwemer's mastery of technology and their stubborn resistance to the passage of time. Obscurely, some Dwemer machines appear in patterns that suggest they are still working, endlessly repairing, patrolling, and maintaining structures despite having no masters. Trolls lurk in caves and mountains, their regenerative abilities making them dangerous foes. Fire is their weakness, a detail rooted in both lore and traditional fantasy. Trolls also come in rare frost variants that only appear in colder regions. One obscure encounter involves a frost troll on the path to High Hrothgar, placed deliberately to test new players who climb the mountain too early. This single enemy became infamous for its difficulty, forcing players to think strategically rather than charging headlong into combat. Dragons, of course, dominate Skyrim's skies, but beyond the main quest, there are hidden variants like elder dragons and ancient dragons, which only appear at higher levels. Named dragons, like Odaviing and Parthernax, carry unique lore, their names written in the dragon tongue to describe their nature. Obscurely, some dragon skeletons can be found scattered across the world, even before Alduin begins resurrecting them, hinting at battles long past. In one case, a dragon skeleton lies atop a mountain with no explanation, leaving fans to speculate about its origins. Even the smaller creatures carry meaning. Mud crabs, often played for humor, can sometimes spawn in rare giant forms, creating surprising encounters. Rabbits and foxes appear harmless, yet some players believe they act as subtle guides, leading them to hidden locations or loot. While Bethesda has never confirmed this, the rumor persists, becoming one of Skyrim's enduring myths. Together, Skyrim's creatures create a living, breathing ecosystem. They are not just enemies, but symbols of the land itself. Wolves of the tundra, saber cats of the mountains, Falmer of the depths, dragons of the skies. Each encounter tells a story, and for players who pay attention, the obscure details transform combat into something more, a reflection of Skyrim's wild, untamed soul. Skyrim's world is not just made of mountains, caves, and dragons. It is woven together by quests, both grand and small, that shape how players experience the province. While the main quest and guild lines dominate the narrative, Skyrim is filled with hidden quests and obscure stories that many wanderers never uncover. These quests, tucked into corners of the map or triggered by rare conversations, often reveal the most haunting, humorous, or thought-provoking parts of the game. One of the most famous hidden stories begins in Markarth with the quest, The Forsworn Conspiracy. What starts as a simple investigation into a murder spirals into a web of corruption, betrayal, and oppression. The quest ends with the player imprisoned in Sidna Mine, forced to navigate alliances between forsworn rebels and the corrupt Silverblood family. Many players stumble into this quest unexpectedly, often shocked by its depth. What makes it obscure is how easy it is to miss entire layers of the story if you don't speak to the right guards, read scattered notes, or choose particular dialogue paths. Another hidden gem lies in the small fishing village of Dawnstar, where the quest Waking Nightmare explores the influence of Vermina, the Daedric Prince of Dreams. The town suffers from haunting visions, and the player must cleanse the Nightcaller Temple. Obscure details reveal that the nightmares are caused by a Daedric artifact called the Skull of Corruption, which feeds on the minds of mortals. The quest is atmospheric and unsettling, offering insight into how Daedric power corrupts even the quietest corners of Skyrim. The quest A Night to Remember begins innocently enough in a tavern, when the player meets a man named Sam Gavin and agrees to a drinking contest. What follows is one of Skyrim's funniest stories. The Dragonborn wakes up in a temple, hungover, with no memory of the night before, and must retrace their steps across Skyrim to uncover the chaos they caused. The twist is that Sam is actually Sanguine, the Daedric Prince of Debauchery, testing the Dragonborn with a night of mischief. Obscure details in this quest connect it to earlier Elder Scrolls games, where Sanguine often appears in humorous, unexpected ways. In Falkreath, a tragic quest begins with a boy named Hroger and his dog Barbas. At first, it seems like a simple lost pet story, but the dog soon reveals itself to be the companion of Clavicus Vile, another Daedric prince. The quest leads the Dragonborn to the Rueful Axe, an artifact tied to betrayal and trickery. What makes this quest obscure is the moral choice at its end, whether to return Barbas to his master or spare him. Many players never realize that keeping the Rueful Axe means dooming Barbas, while refusing it allows the loyal dog to live. It is a story of loyalty, greed, and the weight of small decisions. Not all hidden quests are tied to Daedric princes. Some exist simply as fragments of forgotten lives. In Frostflow Lighthouse, the player discovers a family massacred by Chorus. Journals scattered through the house tell the story of their desperate fight for survival. No quest marker leads you here. It is a narrative told entirely through environment and notes. For many players, stumbling upon Frostflow is one of Skyrim's most haunting moments, a reminder that the land is full of tragedies that go unnoticed by the wider world. Obscure quests also explore humor. In Riften, a small side quest called Unfathomable Depths introduces a nervous Argonian sailor who gives the player an ancient Dwemer lexicon. Returning it to Avanshinzel unlocks memories of long-dead adventurers, echoing voices trapped in the ruins. The quest ties into Skyrim's broader Dwemer mystery, but its obscurity lies in how easily players can walk past the sailor without ever speaking to him. Those who do find themselves pulled into one of the game's eeriest Dwemer stories. Even inns and taverns hide quests. In Windhelm's Candlehearth Hall, overhearing gossip can begin Blood on the Ice, a murder mystery where the Dragonborn must track down a serial killer. This quest is infamous for being buggy, but when it works, it provides one of the most unique experiences in Skyrim. Players investigate crime scenes, question suspects, and piece together clues. What's obscure is how much the quest changes depending on timing. If you arrive in Windhelm at certain points in the Civil War, the quest can play out differently, with alternate suspects or outcomes. Skyrim's hidden quests also reflect its world's humor and absurdity. For example, In Whiterun, a player may encounter a strange man named Cicero whose wagon has broken down. Helping him reveals his connection to the Dark Brotherhood, but ignoring him allows the story to twist in different ways later. Obscure dialogue options here foreshadow Cicero's eventual role, but many players miss the hints. Similarly, helping minor NPCs like Maik the Liar, a wandering Khajiit who spouts cryptic lines, offers Easter eggs and jokes that reference earlier Elder Scrolls games. Even Radiant quests, which many dismiss as repetitive, hide obscure touches. A bounty to clear out a bandit camp may lead to unique loot, rare enemies, or small environmental stories. A rescue mission might introduce a settler with a name and dialogue that hint at deeper backstory. Bethesda designed these systems to feel endless, but within them are gems of handcrafted detail that reward curiosity. Together, these hidden quests and obscure stories transform Skyrim into more than just a land of dragons and politics. They remind us that every corner of the map has meaning, whether it is a tragic family slaughtered in a lighthouse, a mad emperor's mind turned into a playground, or a drunken night that spiraled into chaos. For players who slow down, listen, and wander, Skyrim reveals itself as a world layered with narrative, where even the smallest stories carry weight. The 9 holds of Skyrim are more than points on a map. They are microcosms of culture, history, and politics. Each one has its own story, its own struggles, and obscure details that reveal the broader tensions of the province. While players may know them as quest hubs or stops for merchants, the cities and towns of Skyrim are layered with meaning, built to reflect not only the people who live there, but the history of the Nords and their fractured land. Whiterun, perched at the heart of Skyrim, is the crossroads of the province. Its placement is deliberate. Travelers from all corners must pass through its plains, making it both a hub of trade and a stage for conflict. Dragon's Reach, the Jarl's Palace, is one of Skyrim's most iconic landmarks, named for the time when it was used to trap a dragon within its great hall. Few players realize that the building's design reflects this history, with its wide beams and cage-like structure meant for holding a beast. Jarl Balgruf, caught between Imperial loyalty and Nord independence, embodies Whiterun's role as a fulcrum in the Civil War. Even the city's name, Whiterun, reflects its geography, a sweeping tundra where snow meets plains, neutral ground in a province divided. Solitude, by contrast, stands as a symbol of imperial authority. Built on a natural arch overlooking the Sea of Ghosts, the city is both breathtaking and precarious. Its architecture reflects imperial influence, with stone walls and orderly layouts that differ from the wooden designs of other Nord settlements. The city's mood is shaped by the execution that greets players upon arrival, a public display of loyalty to the Empire, and a reminder of Ulfric Stormcloak's defiance. Obscure details in Solitude's taverns and homes reveal the tension beneath the surface. Bards sing of imperial victories, while whispers in the market tell of discontent. For the Nords who live here, Solitude is both a capital and a compromise, a place where Nord pride must bend to foreign power. Windhelm is Skyrim's oldest city, built by Ysgramor himself, and it wears its age in its stone walls and icy streets. As the seat of Ulfric Stormcloak, it is also the heart of Nord rebellion. The Palace of the Kings echoes with history, its throne once belonging to Skyrim's High Kings. Yet Windhelm is also a city of division. The Grey Quarter, home to Dunmer refugees from Morrowind, reveals the prejudice and tension within Nord society. Many players overlook the smaller details of Windhelm's architecture, Its walls are decorated with dragon motifs, linking it to Skyrim's mythic past, yet its alleys reek of poverty and exclusion. This juxtaposition makes Windhelm one of Skyrim's most complex cities, a place where glory and decay walk hand in hand. Markarth, carved into the cliffs of the Reach, is a city unlike any other in Skyrim. Built upon the ruins of a Dwemer stronghold, its architecture reflects the lost race's mastery of stone and metal. Dwemer statues loom over its streets, and pipes run through its walls, giving the city a cold, industrial feel. But Markarth is also a city of corruption, controlled by the Silver Blood family and plagued by forsworn rebels. The contrast between its grandeur and its brutality is stark. Beautiful stone halls hide violent power struggles. Few players notice the obscure details of Markarth's design, such as the Dwemer machines that still function in hidden corners, or the way water flows through the city, channeled by ancient Dwemer engineering. Markarth feels alien because it is a Dwemer city repurposed, a reminder of a civilization that vanished, leaving only stone and steel behind. Riften, in the southeast, is the opposite of Solitude's order or Markarth's grandeur. Built around a central canal, the city has decayed into corruption and crime. The Blackbriar family rules with ruthless efficiency, and the Thieves' Guild festers in the sewers below. Yet Riften also has a spiritual side. The Temple of Mara stands as a beacon of hope, offering blessings of love and marriage in a city otherwise consumed by greed. This juxtaposition is easy to miss, but it reflects Skyrim's constant theme of duality. Riften is both rot and redemption, a place where a player can become a crime lord or stand before Mara to sanctify their union. Its crooked wooden houses and damp streets reinforce its reputation, but beneath its corruption, it remains a living, breathing community. Dawnstar, a small port town on the northern coast, is haunted by nightmares. Its people suffer from visions sent by Vermina, the Daedric Prince of Dreams, and the Dragonborn can intervene to cleanse the curse. Few players linger in Dawnstar beyond this quest, yet its location as a shipping hub makes it vital to Skyrim's economy. Obscure details in dialogue reveal that Dawnstar has changed rulers frequently, caught in the tug-of-war between Imperials and Stormcloaks. Its bleak landscape and sparse buildings reflect its precarious survival, a town always on the edge of collapse. Falkreath, tucked among dense forests, is a quieter hold defined by death. Its graveyard is one of the largest in Skyrim, a resting place for countless generations. The city's atmosphere is somber, its wooden structures blending into the trees. Falkreath is also tied to the Dark Brotherhood, whose sanctuary lies nearby, hidden among the pines. This connection between death and shadow makes Falkreath an eerie hold, yet it also embodies Nord traditions of honoring ancestors. Few players explore Falkreath deeply, but its mournful tone gives it a unique identity among Skyrim's holds. Morthal, built on the swamps of Hjalmarch, feels isolated and strange. Its people whisper of spirits, and its Jarl, Idgrod Ravencrone, claims to see visions. Vampires lurk nearby, and fires burn in the swamps, giving the hold a supernatural quality. Many players dismiss Morthal as a small, unimportant town, yet it reflects the eerie folklore of Skyrim's people. Obscure details reveal that Idgrod's visions have guided the hold's survival for generations, making her both respected and feared. Morthal is a place where the line between reality and myth blurs, embodying Skyrim's mystical side. Winterhold, once a great city rivaling Solitude, now lies in ruins. The Great Collapse destroyed most of it, leaving only the College of Winterhold standing. Its few remaining buildings cling to the cliffside, reminders of a past greatness that has crumbled. The people of Winterhold blame the college for the disaster, fostering resentment that simmers beneath every interaction. What makes Winterhold obscure is how much of its history is left unexplained. Was the collapse caused by reckless magic, a natural disaster, or something more sinister? The ambiguity makes Winterhold one of Skyrim's most tragic locations, a city defined not by what it is, but by what it lost. Together, the 9 holds of Skyrim form a tapestry of culture and conflict. Whiterun balances neutrality, Solitude enforces imperial order, Windhelm fights for Nord independence, Markarth thrives on Dwemer bones, Riften drowns in corruption, Dawnstar struggles against nightmares, Falkreath mourns, Morthal whispers, and Winterhold remembers. For players who explore each city, not just as quest hubs, but as living communities, these details reveal the true depth of Skyrim. The holds are not just landmarks on a map, they are the living, beating heart of a world on the edge of change. Among Skyrim's deepest mysteries are 2 races whose stories intertwine in tragedy and obscurity. The Dwemer, often called dwarves, and the Falmer, or snow elves. Their ruins and remnants haunt the province, reminding players that Skyrim is built upon the bones of civilizations long past. For many, the greatest mysteries of the Elder Scrolls are not about dragons or Daedric princes, but about these lost peoples whose fates remain shrouded in shadow. The Dwemer were a race of brilliant engineers and philosophers, masters of metal and stone. They carved vast cities beneath Skyrim's mountains, filling them with mechanical constructs powered by steam, gears, and tonal architecture, a mysterious blend of science and magic. Dwemer ruins like Blackreach, Mzulft, and Enchuan Zell stand as testaments to their ambition. Blackreach, in particular, is breathtaking, an underground world illuminated by glowing mushrooms and strange crystals, populated by Falmer and guarded by Dwemer machines. It feels less like a dungeon and more like an alien landscape, hidden beneath Skyrim's surface. The mystery of the Dwemer lies in their sudden disappearance. During the Battle of Red Mountain in the First Era, the entire race vanished in an instant. Theories abound. Some say their experiments with the heart of Lorkhan erased them from existence. Others, that they transcended to another plane. Skyrim never provides a definitive answer, instead scattering clues in books, ruins, and artifacts. This ambiguity keeps the Dwemer's story alive, encouraging endless speculation and exploration. Their constructs remain, tireless guardians of empty halls. Dwemer spheres roll across ancient floors, springing into humanoid forms with blades and crossbows. Spiders scuttle along walls, repairing pipes and machinery. Centurions, massive steam-powered giants, patrol the deepest chambers, armed with devastating hammers and blasts of steam. These machines suggest that the Dwemer expected to return, why else maintain their cities? Obscure details in some ruins, such as functioning lights or repaired corridors, hint that the constructs are still working, still keeping the cities alive for masters who may never return. The Falmer, by contrast, embody tragedy. Once proud snow elves, they were driven underground by the Atmoran Nords who invaded Skyrim. Seeking refuge, they turned to the Dwemer for shelter, only to be betrayed. The Dwemer forced the Falmer to consume toxic fungi, blinding and corrupting them. Over generations, they devolved into the twisted creatures players encounter in Skyrim's caves and ruins. Blind but deadly, they navigate by sound, hunting in packs alongside their chorus insect allies. The Falmer's story is told through fragments: a journal in a ruin, a note in a forgotten chamber, whispers in the books of scholars. Few players connect the monsters they fight with the ancient snow elves mentioned in earlier Elder Scrolls lore. Yet, for those who do, the Falmer are more than enemies. They are victims, their existence a testament to cruelty and survival. Skyrim adds depth to this tragedy with the quest The Forgotten Vale in the Dawnguard expansion, where players encounter rare snow elves who survived uncorrupted. They reveal that not all of their kind succumb to blindness and savagery, but their survival is precarious. Together, the Dwemer and Falmer embody Skyrim's themes of ambition and ruin. The Dwemer, in their pursuit of knowledge, destroyed themselves. The Falmer, in their desperation, lost their identity. Their ruins and caves are not just dungeons, but cautionary tales, warning that civilizations can fall not only to external threats, but to the choices they make in pursuit of survival or power. For players who linger in their halls, reading inscriptions and piecing together lore, these stories elevate Skyrim from fantasy adventure to mythic tragedy. If Skyrim's surface is a world of mountains and cities, its depths are another realm entirely. Blackreach, the vast underground cavern hidden beneath Skyrim, is one of the game's most awe-inspiring and obscure locations. Many players stumble into it during the quest for the Elder Scroll, but few grasp its scale or secrets. For those who explore, Blackreach becomes more than a dungeon. It is a world beneath the world, filled with history, danger, and mystery. Blackreach is illuminated by giant glowing mushrooms, strange crystal formations, and eerie blue light. The scale is immense. Players can wander for hours without reaching every corner. Dwemer architecture dominates the space, with ruins scattered throughout, connected by winding tunnels and bridges. Yet Blackreach is not empty. Falmer prowl its depths, Dwemer machines patrol its ruins, and rare creatures like giants make their homes there. The cavern feels alive, as if it were an ecosystem unto itself. Obscure details make Blackreach even richer. For instance, striking a particular Dwemer orb with the unrelenting force shout summons a dragon named Volthariel, who emerges from the cavern's ceiling. This hidden dragon encounter is one of Skyrim's most obscure secrets, missed by countless players who never think to shout at a glowing orb. Blackreach also contains rare alchemy ingredients, including crimson nirnroot, a unique variant of the plant tied to a quest that sends players across the cavern to collect samples. These crimson plants hum with sound, their glow adding to the cavern's surreal atmosphere. Blackreach's lore suggests it was once a hub of Dwemer civilization, possibly even their capital. Its scale and complexity surpass any other Dwemer ruin in Skyrim. Some scholars speculate that the cavern itself is natural, with the Dwemer carving their cities into its walls, while others believe it was shaped entirely by their machines. The presence of Falmer, who use it as one of their largest settlements, adds to its sense of tragedy. Blackreach is both a monument to Dwemer ambition and a graveyard of snow elf desperation. Exploring Blackreach feels like stepping into another world. Its obscurity lies not just in its size, but in its design. Bethesda created an entire hidden landscape that most players see only briefly. For those who take the time, Blackreach becomes one of Skyrim's most haunting and beautiful experiences, a reminder that the greatest secrets lie not in the skies above, but in the depths below. Magic in Skyrim is both feared and revered. While many Nords distrust it, Seeing it as dangerous and alien, it is also an ancient force that shapes the world. The College of Winterhold serves as the center of magical study, but magic permeates the land in subtler, more obscure ways. Shouts, enchanted items, standing stones, and forgotten rituals all reveal Skyrim's magical heritage. The standing stones scattered across Skyrim are among the most enigmatic magical features. Each stone grants unique powers, from the Warrior Stone's skill boosts to the Lover Stone's ability to increase all skills. Obscurely, the stones are tied to constellations, suggesting a cosmic order beyond Skyrim itself. The Atronach Stone, for instance, grants spell absorption but reduces magicka regeneration, reflecting the nature of the Atronach birth sign in earlier Elder Scrolls games. Few players connect these stones to the series' broader lore, but they are remnants of ancient traditions, echoes of Tamriel's mystical foundations. Shouts, though tied to dragons, are also magical in nature. The Thu'um is not just a weapon but a language of creation, words that shape reality. Each shout represents a philosophical concept: fire, frost, speed, time. The slow time shout, for instance, bends perception, reflecting the idea that words themselves carry the power to alter existence. Parthurnax explains that the Thu'um is not simply sound but meaning made manifest. This concept ties magic to language, a theme that runs throughout Elder Scrolls lore. Enchantments and artifacts provide further mysteries. Items like Oriel's bow or the Staff of Magnus tie directly to divine powers, while obscure items like the Black Star offer moral choices. Players can choose to keep Azura's star pure or corrupt it into the Black Star, a soul gem that can capture human souls. This choice is more than mechanical. It reflects the tension between loyalty to the gods and personal ambition. Alchemy, too, is a form of magic grounded in the natural world. Skyrim's plants, fungi, and minerals each carry properties that, when combined, create potions and poisons. Some ingredients have obscure interactions. Combining certain plants reveals hidden effects not obvious at first glance. This system rewards experimentation, echoing the alchemical traditions of earlier Elder Scrolls games. Together, Skyrim's magical systems weave a tapestry of mystery. Magic is feared by Nords, yet it defines their land. It shapes the stars, the words of dragons, the artifacts of gods, and the very plants beneath their feet. For those who study it, magic reveals that Skyrim is not just a land of warriors and kings, but a realm where the divine and the mortal intertwine. The Daedric princes appear throughout Skyrim, not only as distant figures, but through quests that place the Dragonborn in direct contact with their power. Each quest reveals a different philosophy, forcing players to confront extremes of morality, ambition, or chaos. Beyond their famous artifacts, the quests themselves are filled with obscure details that add layers of meaning. Sheogorath's Mind of Madness quest, where players enter the psyche of Pelagius III, is more than comedy. It reflects Bethesda's love for surreal storytelling, blending humor and horror. Pelagius's paranoia, insecurity, and madness become puzzles, each solved with absurdity. What many players overlook is how the quest mirrors Sheogorath's domain, not chaos for its own sake, but madness as a lens through which reality is distorted. Meridia's quest, The Break of Dawn, is famous for its booming voice and radiant visuals. Yet obscurely, the quest also ties to earlier Elder Scrolls games, where Meridia is consistently opposed to the undead. Her hatred of necromancy reflects a divine philosophy of purity, one that sets her apart from princes like Molag Bal or Namira. Namira's Taste of Death quest is one of Skyrim's darkest, forcing players to dine on human flesh to gain her favor. Obscure dialogue reveals that some NPCs react differently if they survive the feast, or if the player chooses to resist. This moral flexibility is rare in Skyrim, making Namira's quest a true test of roleplay. Molag Bal's quest, the House of Horrors, is equally unsettling, requiring the player to break the will of a priest. The quest reflects Bal's philosophy of domination, forcing the player into complicity with cruelty. Few players notice that the shrine itself contains inscriptions in Daedric script, hidden world building that ties Skyrim to broader Elder Scrolls lore. Each Daedric quest offers not just a weapon or artifact, but a glimpse into a different philosophy of power. For players who notice the obscure details, the inscriptions, the dialogue variations, the connections to earlier games, the Daedric princes become more than quest givers. They become mirrors of extremes, reflecting both the darkest and most divine aspects of existence. At the heart of Skyrim's story lies its civil war, a conflict between the Imperial Legion and the Stormcloaks. On the surface, the war is about independence. Ulfric Stormcloak leads a rebellion against Imperial rule, while General Tullius seeks to preserve order. Yet beneath this lies a web of politics, faith, and cultural pride that makes the war far more complex. The Stormcloaks argue that Skyrim should be free from Imperial control, particularly because the Empire outlawed the worship of Talos under the White Gold Concordat. For Nords, Talos is not just a god, but a symbol of their heritage, a man who ascended to divinity. To deny him is to deny Nord identity. Ulfric himself is both a hero and a tyrant, depending on perspective. His use of the Thu'um to kill Skyrim's High King demonstrates his power, but also his willingness to bend tradition for ambition. The Imperials argue that Skyrim cannot stand alone. The Aldmeri Dominion remains a powerful threat, and only by uniting under the Empire can Tamriel resist further conquest. General Tullius, though pragmatic, is often portrayed as cold and dismissive of Nord traditions. His presence reflects the tension between survival and sovereignty, forcing players to consider whether independence is worth vulnerability. Obscure details enrich the war. The Jarls of Skyrim are divided, with some loyal to Ulfric, others to the Empire, and many hesitant. Towns and villages change hands depending on the player's choices, altering the political landscape. Even small details, like guard dialogue, shift after battles, reflecting the dynamic nature of the conflict. Yet despite this, many players feel the war lacks a true conclusion, as the larger struggle against the Dominion remains unresolved. This ambiguity mirrors real-world politics, where victories are often incomplete and conflicts continue in the shadows. The Civil War is not just about sides, but about identity. Who are the Nords without Talos? What is Skyrim without the Empire? The game never provides simple answers, instead, leaving players to grapple with the consequences of their choices. For those who look closely, the Civil War is not just a side story, it is the heart of Skyrim's narrative, shaping every hold, every family, and every prayer whispered to the gods. Skyrim's release in 2011 marked a cultural moment, but its legacy has stretched far beyond that day. Part of its endurance lies in the game itself, its open world, its quests, its freedom, but much of it lies in the modding community, which has transformed Skyrim into a living, evolving platform. Mods fix bugs, overhaul graphics, and add new content. Some restore cut quests or expand existing ones, bringing depth to places that felt unfinished. Others create entirely new lands, quests, or mechanics, turning Skyrim into something unrecognizable. The modding scene has produced works like Enderal, a total conversion that uses Skyrim's engine to tell an entirely new story. These creations reflect the passion of players who have kept Skyrim alive for over a decade. Obscurely, some mods have influenced Bethesda itself. Features like mounted combat and kill cams, once added by modders, were later implemented officially. The line between official content and community creation has blurred, making Skyrim not just a game but a collaborative world. Skyrim's legacy also extends to memes and culture. Lines like, "I used to be an adventurer like you, then I took an arrow in the knee," became internet phenomena, quoted far beyond the gaming community. These memes reflect how Skyrim permeated popular culture, becoming more than just a game. Even today, Skyrim continues to be re-released, remastered, and rediscovered. Each new edition introduces it to new players, while veterans return to old saves, finding new quests, mods, and secrets. Skyrim has become less of a product and more of a living myth, retold endlessly, shaped by those who play it. In the end, Skyrim is more than dragons, guilds, or politics. It is a myth, a story of a land on the edge of ruin, of heroes who rise and fall, of gods who walk among mortals. Its obscure details, from the inscriptions on word walls to the whispered prejudices of Windhelm's citizens, weave a tapestry that feels timeless. The Dragonborn is both hero and symbol. Their journey reflects the eternal cycle of chaos and order, destruction and rebirth. Alduin's return is not just a plot, but a metaphor. The World Eater will always rise, and heroes will always be called. Skyrim itself is eternal, a land of snow and stone that endures even as empires rise and fall. What makes Skyrim enduring are the layers of meaning. For some, it is a playground of freedom, where they can craft weapons, build homes, or wander endlessly. For others, it is a story of tragedy and triumph, of gods and mortals locked in eternal conflict. And for others still, it is a myth they carry into their dreams, a world that feels as real as our own. More than a decade after its release, Skyrim remains alive because it is more than a game. It is a place filled with secrets, stories, and myths that continue to inspire. Every ruin explored, every dragon slain, every song sung by a bard adds to its legend. And like all myths, Skyrim endures not because it is perfect, but because it speaks to something timeless, the yearning for adventure, the pull of destiny, and the dream of a world where mountains and stories never end.